welcome to today's podcast. I'm Sophia, and I'm here with my co-host, James.
Hi, everyone. We're so excited to talk about something many of you might struggle with: how to study English when you're really busy.
That's right. Life can get so busy with work, school, family, or just everything we need to do in a day. It's hard to find time for learning a new language.
But the good news is, it's possible. You don't need hours every day. Even small steps can make a big difference. So today, we'll share tips, ideas, and strategies to help you.
And while we do that, we'll also teach you some useful words and phrases related to the topic. So let's get started.
First, let's talk about something important: making a schedule. Sophia, what does it mean to make a schedule?
Great question. A schedule is a plan for your time. When you make a schedule, you decide what you will do and when you will do it. For example, you can say, on Monday at 8 a.m., I will study vocabulary for 10 minutes.
That's a good example, and schedule is a word you'll hear a lot when talking about time and planning. You can also say, set a schedule or follow a schedule.
Yes, and here's a phrase to remember: time management. It means planning your time so you can do everything you need to do. If you're busy, good time management is very important.
Absolutely. A tip for good time management is to use short breaks during your day. For example, if you have 5 or 10 minutes, you can practice listening to English.
Oh, I love that tip. Listening is such a great way to improve, and you don't need a lot of time. You can listen while you're doing something else, like washing dishes or walking to work.
Yes, that's called multitasking. Multitasking means doing 2 or more things at the same time. But remember, don't multitask if you need to focus a lot on one thing.
That's true. Here's another idea: keep a notebook or use a note-taking app on your phone. Whenever you hear or see a new English word, write it down. Later, when you have time, you can look it up and learn it.
That's a great habit, and don't forget about repeating. Repeating new words helps you remember them. For example, if you learn the word multitask, try saying it and using it in a sentence. I can multitask by listening to English while I clean.
Perfect example, James. Repeating words out loud also helps with pronunciation. If you don't have someone to practice with, try speaking to yourself or even recording your voice.
That's a fun idea. And speaking of fun, you can make learning enjoyable by using apps, watching videos, or playing games in English.
Yes, because if learning is fun, you'll want to do it more.
So true. And remember, it's okay if you only have a few minutes a day to study. Every little bit helps, and the key is to be consistent.
That's a great word, consistent. It means doing something regularly, not just once or twice. For example, if you study English for 10 minutes every day, that's being consistent.
Exactly. And consistency is more important than studying for a long time once a week.
So, just to summarize what we've talked about so far: make a schedule, use short breaks, multitask when you can, write down new words, repeat them, and try to be consistent.
Those are all great steps to start learning English, even when you're busy.
Another important tip for learning English when you're busy is using your environment. What do I mean by that? It's about surrounding yourself with English in your daily life.
Oh, that's such a good point. For example, if you live in a city, there might be English words around you on signs, menus, or advertisements. You can practice by reading them out loud.
Exactly. Or if you're shopping, look at the labels on products. Many items have instructions or ingredients written in English. Try to read and understand them.
And what if someone doesn't live in a place with English around them?
Good question. You can create your own English environment. For example, change the language on your phone or computer to English. This way, you'll see English every time you use them.
Yes, that's a fantastic idea. It might feel strange at first, but it's a great way to learn everyday words like settings, notifications, or update.
Default text. Another idea is to put sticky notes around your home. Write the names of things in English and stick the notes on them. For example, put a note on your fridge that says refrigerator or on your mirror that says mirror.
That's fun, and it helps you learn without feeling like you're studying. You're just seeing the words naturally every day.
Yes, and it's especially helpful for beginners. Another great tool is your earbuds. If you're busy, you might not have time to sit and read, but you can listen to English while doing other things.
Right, you can listen to English podcasts, audiobooks, or even music. Songs are a fun way to learn because you hear new words and practice pronunciation.
Do you have a favorite way to learn with music, James?
I like finding a song I enjoy and looking up the lyrics. Then, I try to sing along. It helps with pronunciation and rhythm.
That's a great technique. And here's a useful word for everyone: lyrics. Lyrics are the words of a song.
Yes, and you can also find videos with subtitles, like English movies or TV shows. Subtitles are the words on the screen that match what the characters are saying.
Oh, subtitles are so helpful. When you watch with subtitles, you can listen and read at the same time. And if you don't understand a word, you can pause and look it up.
That's true. And don't forget about apps for learning English. Many of them are free and great for short, daily practice. Some apps focus on vocabulary, others on grammar or speaking.
Yes, and because they're on your phone, you can use them anytime, like when you're waiting for a bus or standing in line.
That's called microlearning. It means learning in small, quick lessons. Microlearning is perfect if you're busy because it doesn't take much time.
Good word, James. Microlearning. And speaking of small lessons, you can also write in English for just a few minutes each day.
Writing is such a great way to practice. You don't need to write a long story. You can keep it simple, like writing about your day.
Yes, for example, today, I woke up early, ate breakfast, and went to work. You can also try writing to-do lists in English.
To-do lists are great because they help you learn words for everyday activities like clean, buy, call, or finish.
That's a good tip, and don't worry about making mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. What's important is trying and practicing every day.
So true, Sophia. When you make a mistake, don't feel bad. Instead, think, this is how I learn.
That's such a positive mindset. And here's another tip. Find a language buddy.
Ah, I love this one. A language buddy is someone you practice English with. They can be a friend, a classmate, or even someone you meet online.
Yes, you can practice speaking, ask questions, and even help each other stay motivated. And if you can't find a buddy, talk to yourself.
That's right. Speaking to yourself is better than not speaking at all. You can say, I'm cooking rice now, or I need to wash my clothes.
These small steps add up over time, and when you keep practicing, you'll notice your confidence growing.
So, just a review, surround yourself with English, use apps, listen to music, write every day, and find a language buddy. These tips will help you practice even if you're very.
Let's dive into another important idea: staying motivated. Learning English can be hard sometimes, especially when you're busy, and it's easy to feel like giving up. So, how can we stay motivated?
That's a great question, Sophia. One way to stay motivated is to set goals. A goal is something you want to achieve. For example, your goal might be, I want to learn 10 new words this week, or I want to watch one English video every day.
Exactly. And here's a tip. Make your goals realistic. This means your goals should be possible to achieve, even if you're busy. For example, if you only have 10 minutes a day, don't set a goal to study for 2 hours.
That's so important. If your goals are too big, you might feel frustrated and stop. But if they're small and realistic, you'll feel good when you achieve them.
And don't forget to reward yourself when you reach a goal. For example, if you learn 10 new words, You could treat yourself to something you like a favorite snack or a short break to relax.
That's a great idea. Rewards make learning fun and give you something to look forward to.
Another way to stay motivated is to remind yourself why you're learning English. Maybe it's for your job, for travel, or to make new friends.
Yes, and you can write this down somewhere you'll see it often, like on your notebook or as a note on your phone. For example, I'm learning English so I can talk to people when I visit another country.
That's so helpful. And speaking of reminders, let's talk about creating habits. A habit is something you do regularly, like brushing your teeth or drinking water in the morning.
Right, and learning English can become a habit too. For example, you could decide to listen to English every morning while having breakfast.
Or if you take the bus or train, you can use that time to read something in English or review vocabulary.
That's called building a routine. A routine is a set of actions you do at the same time every day. When learning English is part of your routine, it becomes easier and automatic.
And here's a helpful word: consistency. We mentioned it before, but let's explain it more. Consistency means doing something regularly, even if it's just a little. For example, practicing English for 10 minutes every day is better than practicing for 1 hour only once a week.
Yes, because when you're consistent, your brain gets used to learning and it remembers things better.
That's so true. And if you ever feel stuck or bored, try something new. For example, if you usually study with books, try watching a funny video in English or playing a game that teaches vocabulary.
That's a great point. Learning doesn't have to be serious all the time. You can make it fun and creative.
And speaking of creative, another idea is to use visuals. Visuals are things you can see, like pictures, diagrams, or flashcards.
Flashcards are so useful. You can write a word in English on one side and its meaning or translation on the other side. Then test yourself whenever you have a few minutes.
Yes, you can even draw small pictures on your flashcards to help you remember. For example, if the word is tree, draw a simple tree.
That's such a good tip, and these days you can also use flashcard apps on your phone. Some apps even use something called spaced repetition.
Oh, I love spaced repetition. It means reviewing a word at specific times so you don't forget it. For example, you might review a new word today, again in 2 days, then a week later, and so on.
It's a smart way to remember things without spending too much time. And while we're talking about memory, let's not forget the power of reviewing.
Yes, reviewing is so important. Even if you learn something new today, you need to look at it again later. Otherwise, you might forget it.
That's right. You can review your notes, flashcards, or even listen to the same podcast or video again.
And if you're feeling brave, try teaching what you've learned to someone else. Teaching helps you understand things better and remember them longer.
That's such a great idea. You could explain a new word to a friend or even write about it in a social media post.
And speaking of writing, journaling can also help. Try writing 1 or 2 sentences in English every night before bed. You can write about your day or something you learned.
That's such a relaxing way to end the day, and it helps you practice thinking in English.
Exactly. So to summarize this part, staying motivated is key. Set realistic goals, reward yourself, create habits, and make learning fun and creative. And remember to review and use what you've learned.
Those are all great ways to keep going, even when life gets busy.
Now that we've talked about motivation, habits, and creative ways to study, let's focus on how to measure your progress and keep improving over time. Measuring your progress helps you see how much you've learned, and it keeps you motivated to do more.
That's such an important point. When we learn something new, it can feel slow, and we might think we're not improving. But when we measure our progress, we realize that we're actually getting better step by step.
Exactly. One way to measure your progress is to keep a learning journal. A learning journal is like a diary where you write down what you study and learn each day. For example, you can write, "Today, I learned 5 new words: motivation, schedule, habit, consistent, and routine."
That's a great idea, and over time, you can look back at your journal and see how much you've learned. It's a good reminder of your hard work.
Another way to measure progress is to test yourself. This doesn't mean a big, scary test. It can be as simple as trying to remember words or grammar rules you've learned.
For example, if you've been practicing vocabulary, write down a few words and see if you can use them in sentences. Or, if you've been working on listening, play a video in English and see how much you can understand without subtitles.
That's a great tip, and don't forget about tracking time. You can use an app or even a calendar to mark the days when you study. Seeing a streak, like studying every day for a week, can be really motivating.
Oh, I love seeing streaks. It's like a little reward for staying consistent. And speaking of rewards, sometimes the best reward is just realizing how much better you're getting.
Yes, like noticing that you understand more words in a song or that you can read something faster than before. These small wins are proof that your efforts are working.
Another way to see progress is to record yourself speaking in English. You can do this every week or every month. Over time, you'll hear how much your pronunciation and confidence improve.
That's a fantastic idea. And while we're on the topic of speaking, let's talk about improving speaking skills. For many learners, speaking can feel scary.
Definitely, but the only way to get better is to practice. Start small, maybe just a few sentences a day. For example, you can describe what you're doing: "I'm drinking tea," or "I'm reading an English book."
Yes, and don't worry about mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll feel.
And if you can, try to have short conversations with someone in English. It could be a friend, a teacher, or even a language partner online.
That's a great idea. And here's a tip. If you don't know a word during a conversation, don't stop. Try to explain it in another way. For example, if you can't remember the word refrigerator, you can say, "It's the thing in the kitchen that keeps food cold."
Yes, that's called paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is a skill that helps you keep talking even when you don't know every word.
Another tip for speaking is to practice questions. Questions are so useful because they keep conversations going. For example, you can practice asking, "What did you do today?" or "How was your weekend?"
That's a great point. And when you ask questions, listen carefully to the answers. Listening is just as important as speaking because it helps you learn how people use the language naturally.
Absolutely. And if you don't understand something, it's okay to ask. You can say, "Can you say that again?" or "What does that mean?" Asking questions shows you're interested and helps you learn.
Another idea is to shadow someone. Shadowing means listening to a native speaker and then copying what they say, including their tone and pronunciation.
That's such a powerful technique. You can shadow short phrases or sentences from a video or a podcast. It's like practicing with a real person.
And don't forget to practice reading out loud. It's a great way to improve your pronunciation and fluency. You can read anything: a book, a newspaper, or even your learning journal.
That's a wonderful suggestion. And while we're talking about reading, let's also mention improving writing. Writing helps you organize your thoughts in English.
That's a wonderful suggestion. And while we're talking about reading, let's also mention improving writing. Writing helps you organize your thoughts in English.
Writing emails or messages in English is also great practice. Start with simple sentences and build from there.
Definitely. And if you're not sure about something you've written, use a grammar checking tool. It can help you learn from your mistakes.
That's a great tip. And remember, whether you're practicing speaking, listening, reading, or writing, the most important thing is to enjoy the process.
Yes, learning a language is a journey. It's not about being perfect, it's about improving a little every day.
So, to sum up everything we've talked about today, Focus on making a schedule, using your time wisely, building habits, staying motivated, measuring progress, and practicing all for skills speaking, listening, reading, and writing.
And don't forget to make it fun and creative. Learning English doesn't have to be boring.
That's right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope these tips help you in your English learning journey.
If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share it with your family and friends.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.